All right, so let's get back to this little simulation that we are creating. Last time we saw how to create an empty station and start importing components from the online library. I remind you, you can find it over here under the world icon. It will open you a browser page where you can find a lot of models that are ready to be imported in your simulation. For this basic simulation, we are going to use the model of the robot, of course, and we're going to use also a couple of other models. Just a second that it's not loading correctly. Okay, here we go. So we are going to also to use this table, this very nice looking table, and we're going also to use this cube as an obstacle that the robot is going to need to avoid. Once we download them, you can simply go in your download folder, and then you can just drag and drop them directly in the simulation. You can see that basically they are all imported at the origin of our station. Okay, so what else do we need in order to create this simulation? As I mentioned last time, we need to be able to model a few geometries, some simple geometries in case we need to. So in this video, we're going to model together the robot gripper that you can see here. This is a fake vacuum gripper. It is a little bit more complex to model with respect to the robot base or this workpiece, which are just a couple of cylinders. So this is why we're going to model this object. But once you model this one, you can, of course, model also these two very, very quickly, very, very easy. The program that we are going to use in order to create these geometries is this one. It is called FreeCAD. It's a free CAD software that you can download and install easily, very, very easily. It's an open source, one of the best open source CAD programs you can find. Once you complete the setup procedure, which is very, very easy, you can find instructions on their online page. This is pretty much what you're going to see when you open the program. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on how to use this program. You can find documentation online, or you can ask me if you have any doubt. But basically, FreeCAD works using several workbenches, several environments, which you can use to do very different things, from creating meshes to creating parts, drawing 2D drawings, a lot of different things. What we're going to do is to model our little gripper. First thing you always need to do is to create a new empty document, which you can do by pressing this icon over here. This will generate a new empty document. And then from here, you can go and select the workbench, the set of commands that you are going to use. There are a couple of different options for creating parts. The simplest that we're going to use this time is the part workbench. So you can select part under this drop-down menu. And once you are in this workbench, you can easily use it to create some geometric primitives, some basic geometric primitives like cubes, cylinders, spheres, and you can customize their position in space and also dimensions, size, and stuff like that. When I say position in space, I mean that FreeCAD works using a reference frame. This reference frame, which you can see, no, you cannot see. You cannot see. You can see the reference frame by going over View, toggle axis cross here. This will show you the reference frame, the world reference frame. This is very important because every geometry that we're going, all the geometry that we're going to create is going to be referenced with respect to this reference frame. And this reference frame is what we're going to use to position these objects later on when we import them into our simulation environment. Okay, so you need to specify where you want to put the objects we have set to this reference frame. So our gripper, we can have a second look at it. It's a very simple gripper, as you can see. It's like a concept of a gripper. It's just composed of two very simple shapes. And we can add these shapes into our document in FreeCAD just by pressing on these icons over here. You can press this icon to create a cube, and you can press on this icon to create a small cylinder. Okay, so it's very, very easy. Once you created these shapes, you will see here in this little tree, okay, you will find them in this little tree, which basically contains all the shapes that are within your FreeCAD document and all the operations that you are going to perform on them. Right now, these shapes are not the way we want them to be, of course, because these are not the dimensions and they're not even in the right positions. So let's select them. You can either press on them directly from the screen, or you can select them in the tree, in this left tree. Once you select them, you will see over here that they have a few properties. First of all, a cylinder has a radius and a height property, which you can simply customize by pressing on it and then giving it its right value. For example, our gripper is going to be a cylinder with 30 millimeters radius, and it's going to be 20 millimeters high. But they also have a placement property, which you can expand. You can see you can give it an axis angle for orientation, but you can also, more importantly, give it a position. So you can move your geometry with respect to the reference frame that we saw earlier. So the cylinder is pretty much done. We need to customize the cube. This little cube here, you can see it's a 10 times 10 times 10 cube. We want it a little bit larger in order to simulate our suction cups. Could be something like this. So this is the second shape that we're going to use. All we need to do right now is to reposition, okay, this second shape in order to have something like this, okay? How do we do it? I told you we have the placement property, the position property you can find under placement. Here you can just manually insert the quotes you want. So if our suction pad is 100 times 100, and we want to center it with respect to the origin, we can just shift it with respect to its original position by minus 50 millimeters in X and Y direction. Okay, so now we have it centered. Oh, sorry. We now have it centered. Now all we need to do is to lift it up a bit so that it goes on top of the other cylinder. The other cylinder, which we know it's 20 millimeter high. So since the base of these two shapes are right now the same, we can just lift the cube of 20 millimeters and we will have exactly what we need. So now here we have our gripper, our nice, although simple looking gripper. As you can see, the procedure is fairly easy. Right now, they are not exactly one part, okay? In order to finish the creation of our gripper and be able to then later import it in RoboDK, we first need to merge okay, all these shapes in order for them to create one single object that we can export. There is a very simple way of doing this. You can select all shapes you want to merge from the left tree. And then here, you can find binary operations you can perform on the shapes you have, okay? You can perform intersection, you can perform the Boolean union, which is what we're going to do. You can find several operations which can allow you to, for example, create shapes that are more complex than the basic ones by combining several shapes, okay? So we're going to just make the union, the fusion of these two shapes. So now you can see that in the tree, they form a fusion shape, which is composed of the fusion of these two previous shapes. Once we have this nice fusion, we can save the FreeCAD project. We can go under File, Save As, and we can call it Simple Gripper, for example. This that we're going to save right now is the FreeCAD project, okay? So it can be opened only in FreeCAD, say contains all the information that we gave it, but it's not what we need to import in RoboDK, okay? It's what you can use later on if you need to modify this gripper. You can open with FreeCAD back this project and you will find the same tree with all the information, and then you can go and modify it. But for this geometry to be correctly imported in RoboDK, what you need to do is to select the shape you want to export, and then you need to go here under Part, Export CAD. You can also go under File, Export, okay? They work basically the same. Once you do this, you will see that there are a lot of different formats you can export your geometry into. RoboDK itself allows for several different formats. It supports several different formats, so there is you can choose freely. The two most notably formats that you're probably going to use when working with simple simulations such as this one are the STEP and the STL. STEP and STL, they are fairly different formats, but let's say that they are open formats in a way, so they are supported by lots of different programs. They are not tied to a specific vendor. They're often used to exchange data between different CAD softwares. Let's export this one example in an STL mesh. So we can give it a simple name, simplegripper.stl. We can save it. Now, if we go back to our simulation, we can simply drag and drop our newly created model. Right now, you cannot see it, probably because it is overlapped by a few other objects in the simulation. So let's try, for example, hide a few of them so that we can see it. If you select anything from the simulation tree here in RoboDK, you can click your right mouse button, and then you can toggle this visible property, which allows us to pretty much hide everything we want. You can see that now the icon has turned to gray, so we do no longer see them here. And here we have our beautiful gripper that we just created. So very, very easy procedure. The same way as we did this, actually even simpler, you can create the workpiece that we're going to model and also the robot base. They are just one shape for each model, so they are very, very simple. Okay. You can also find the models attached to these videos in case you want directly to use them. So, for our first quick introduction to geometric modeling, this could be it. As always, feel free to contact me if you have any question. See you in the next video.